We're here today to speak to Gemma, and in our blog series, Inspirational Women. I'm very honored to have you here today. Gemma, where are you calling from?
Firstly, I feel really honoured to be asked to do it, so thanks very much. I'm currently in the deep midwinter, in the dark now in Sydney, as your sun is just rising in beautiful South Africa. Yeah, I'm in Sydney, Australia.
Let's get to know you better. What are you currently doing as a job? And let's go back a little bit further. Actually, where did you start? What was your first job? My
first proper job was as an allocator in the children's wear department of BHS, way back in the 80s, mid-80s. To be honest, I didn't even know what an allocator was. And I was probably pretty rubbish to begin with. I'm sure people will agree, because I came to London to be an actress. I was going to be on the stage. I was not looking for a job in retail, so I wanted to be in Shakespeare plays every day of my life, and that was what I wanted. And then when I arrived in London, I realised that it's quite expensive in London, and if you do go into acting, you're probably 99% out of work. So I had to get a job, and I got a job, as I say, as an allocator at BHS, and I was really, really lucky. I had some lovely people who looked out for me and kind of coached me and guided me. And it was interesting times because it was Terence Conran's business then. And so it was quite fascinating. And it was the days when he would sit in range reviews, they would all sit on rows of chairs, and he would sit in the middle smoking a big cigar. You can't even imagine it now. Well, then from there, I was very, very lucky that Rebecca Cottrell took me under her wing and took me with her to Debenhams. And I stayed at Debenhams and got into buying. And then I moved into the manufacturing side of industry. So my career has been a bit blue chip buying, manufacturing in the UK, sourcing out of Asia. Then I had my own company for a while, which was designing and developing a range of baby products, because after being buying director at Mothercare for 7 years, my husband and I, who was my boyfriend at the time, we set up a business. I mean, I can't believe we picked such a difficult product. You know, there's 300 ways that a pushchair can maim and injure a child, and we picked that product category to go for first. Wow. Yeah, I learned a hell of a lot from that. That was really, really tough. I think I take my hat off to any entrepreneurs, yourself included, you know, who can take such a leap of faith, especially with all their own money. And yeah, sadly it didn't work out, and we had to put it into voluntary liquidation. We were very lucky that somebody picked it up for a song, not for making any money, but it meant that our debts weren't as expensive as they could have been. And then I kind of took a lot of steps back, and certainly a lot of steps back financially, just to work. So I worked as product development director in a children's furniture company for a few years. And then I was so lucky to get an opportunity to interview for TK Maxx. And I think my entrepreneurial background weirdly then came into the forefront, and that's what they quite liked about my past. So although running our own business was tough and it didn't end well, it kind of set me up for where I am now. So I'm pretty proud of it. Yeah. So I've been at TK Maxx now for about 11 years. In your current role at TK Maxx, what are the key elements? I would say that, gosh, I mean, if anybody asks me ever like what I do, it is more about the elements of how you do things. And I think my job is to lead my team with kindness, empathy, and good humor. Wow. And I think we're such a small team here in Australia. We lead very strange hours. So there's all kinds of opportunities for people to not look after their mental health, or to not look after their general wellness. So I kind of see my job as like part maternal, part coach. So, I can't even tell you any of the boring sort of day-to-day transactional stuff. For me, that's absolutely the biggest part of what I do, I guess, and I'm very lucky to be able to do it because it suits me.
Do you have a daily routine, and how does that look like?
No, I don't. I mean, we're in lockdown right now. So in Sydney, whilst Australia was so good at nailing the actual pandemic, we've not been so good at sorting out the vaccine program. So we're in another lockdown right now. But even in lockdown, every day is different. I think the only things that are consistent is starting the morning with a bit of exercise and always checking in with the team just to make sure everyone's in good shape. Everything else is just different, and it's a big theme of TK Maxx. Not that I'm here to talk about TK Maxx, but it's very, very unstructured, and you just kind of you do what has to be done to get your job done, and it's every day there's something different. So yeah, and I also have quite a big portfolio here compared to what I would have in the European office, so probably it's a bit broader, so I don't get to all the nuts and bolts daily anyway, which again suits my personality. It's driving the business through the people, so it's just the only thing that's consistent is them.
And what kind of advice would you give someone that would like to have a career like you, a similar career?
I mean, there's millions of great things like follow your dream and work hard, but I think at the end of the day, just be authentic. I mean, there's always stuff that you can polish, but for me, and I should have polished a lot of stuff earlier, definitely, but for me, remaining authentic, remaining real is going to get you through so much, because if you find you're being inauthentic, you're probably in the wrong place anyway. You're probably in the wrong environment. It's not going to inspire you. And if people appreciate the authenticity with the polishing, if you need to, but if you are appreciated for who you are, then you're just going to work so much better. You're going to want to work harder. You're going to want to inspire and be inspired. So I think it's a struggle, of course, especially when you're young and you want to impress.
Yes.
But just be true, that just be comforted by the fact that people do want the real you. They really do.
What was the best advice that someone has given you?
I've had some really, really good advice in my life, and I've been so lucky. I've had mentors all the way through, including where I am now. But someone said something quite recently to me, because I do have a tendency to want everything for the team, and that sounds a bit corny, but I really do. And it was one of my HR guys in Boston, and he said, don't ever want something more for someone than they want it themselves. And it was just such an obvious thing, like, don't push someone until they actually want it. It's got to come from them. Because I think, again, in that slightly paternal side, you really want things for your team. You want them to progress, and you might put them up on the board and tell people about them, and they might not be ready for that. And once they're all, once their name's out there, it's a lot of pressure on them. And I just thought, yeah, that's really, really good advice. So I do now wait much more for people to come to me, for people to show their ambition as well as their skill. But I think don't want anything for others more than they want it themselves.
So good things are coming. Thank you so much, Gemma. I could have talked to you for hours. It was an amazing, interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been great. Thanks a lot.